All right, what's going on, everyone? Episode 105, four,
Five.
five. We are back after a little hiatus. It's a busy time of year. Got some things going on. Ryan's a busy guy. Chase is busy with his job. I'm busy. So we're making it work, getting the time in for this podcast. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. Happy to be back here with you guys. It feels like it's been like a month at this point, but a
I
lot to
think it
talk
has been.
about, a lot to recap. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it all with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get right into it. Start with we'll go over the lineup here. Start Phillies overtaking the Mets. Unfortunately, NBA playoffs, talk some NHL playoffs, WNBA opening weekend, and then, as always, quick NASCAR update to finish us off. So let's get started. Phillies overtaking the Mets. You guys want to go first, or should I dig into the Mets here?
I think we should both just take a moment we're both still in first and second.
Mets just gave up back-to-back home runs.
Both teams have been a little bit up and down to start the year, but we knew the Braves would be coming back, but we're still both ahead of them. As competitive as the Nationals have been playing to kind of how their record's been the past few seasons. And overall, I'm super high on the Phillies. I feel like you got to be satisfied where you're at with Ben, but ultimately, it's one of those situations now. It's been a couple years in a row of competitive baseball, and it's not like the Sixers yet, where I'm just waiting for the playoffs. But you do hope some of this consistency with the pitching, the situational hitting, stuff like that. Like you're almost like, okay, I want to see this in September and October. But no, I feel good. I feel good where the Phillies are at, and it's been fun watching them compete game by game. So
Yeah, I agree. I feel like at this point, I'm a little bit surprised just because I felt like the Mets had like a good bubble on the Phillies, and I feel like they could have just built on it, but it's still super early yet to like say. I feel like anything division wise at this point, unless you're like 20 games under, is like I don't know, kind of like somebody can just went rattle off like twin style where they pull off 13, and it's like okay, this is like a run now for sure. But yeah, it's definitely been exciting. I feel like the Phillies have done it, kind of like piecing it together a little bit too. Nola hasn't been dominant. Harper, you could say, is a little bit below expectation with his offensive production overall, but he's still a guy who's going to finish with his career stats most likely. But uh, even with the pitching performances and losing Alvarado now, and especially for the playoffs, is definitely going to be a dent in this. And it's almost just like I mean, he's basically done for the year, probably done with the Phillies overall. So that's things that have to go out now and replace that, or try to figure out what you're going to do. But
is he done for the year officially at 80 games? That's not.
I mean, he can come back, but like, what's the point? Like, I don't really want him around. Like, he just kind of left too. He didn't really say anything to anybody other than basically the higher ups. Like, he didn't. He just bailed on the team. So uh, I feel like that whole thing is like you're gonna come back, pitch a couple of games, and then just be gone for the postseason. Like, yeah, you could probably help us win a few games, but at the same time, I don't want to have to rely on you, and then you're gone, and now you're gone for basically the whole year.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the Phillies, the guy that's still out there that makes the most sense right now is David Robertson. He's still not signed with anyone for some reason. He's had consistent 3.2, 3.3 years the last like five. So, and he's familiar with the Phillies organization too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
yeah, I
bulk. The
wouldn't mind
bulk.
that.
No, go ahead, Chase.
I was just gonna say, I wouldn't mind that move, but they definitely have to go buy an arm at this point. Like they've needed to for the last few years, and this is just even more of the reason why you should go out and just spend something on a real legit reliever and not just somebody like a Carlo Estevez and all these guys. So like just middling relievers. Like I want a high end, nice weapon in the bullpen now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. The rest of their bullpen has been pretty decent though, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, the key is it's super early. It is super early. Key points though, Nola has been pretty much awful. Harper's been significantly underplaying, and they're in first place. So it's not one of those, all cylinders clicking. Schwarber's heated up a little earlier. Castellanos has been a little more consistent, but overall the team individuals have been up and down. So I'll take first place all day. And Ben, I don't know if we wanted – I don't know how big of a deal the Soto thing is, but the Mets have been a little more uneasy. And then the whole big Soto, thinking he hit the home run off the big green monster in Fenway. Are people just making a bigger deal out of that? Is this kind of like how the Mets identity kind of is right now?
So I will say the Soto running thing is not the big deal. I think the bigger deal is I even said that to Julia weeks ago. He doesn't have the same smile playing. I'm genuinely not sure if he's done a Soto shuffle once yet as a Met. Like a signature Soto shuffle. I don't think he's done that one time since he's been a Met. Which is just I don't care if he does it, but it's just kind of weird. I haven't seen it. So it seems like he's not playing with a ton of joy. And I don't also know if that's because you have a guy like Lindor and Brandon Nimmo, who both are super smiley guys who always look like they love the game of they love playing, they're always just smiling. So I don't know if that's just a result of that. But he's still just not. He's finding his groove, and I'm not too worried yet. If as a Met, as a ball player, you're going to make the post. You're going to make the back pages of the New York Post at some point, and it's probably going to be negative, and it's just is what it is.
He played in New York last year.
Yeah, but he didn't struggle at all. He never struggled. No. Part of that is he's hitting in front of Judge, but he's also hitting between Lindor and Alonso. He's not hitting between chumps. They're both playing well. The whole team right now is struggling on offense, but I don't know. I'm not too worried. I think he needs to just start performing. He's not getting the big hits. His home runs, he has 8, I think, maybe, but 4 of his home runs came against the Diamondbacks in a 2-day stretch earlier this year. So I'm not too concerned, but we would like to see, I think, as Mets fans, just a little more joy being a Met, especially the team's also playing well. Yeah, they've been struggling for sure, but they're still in a playoff position. They're not playing terribly. So when you're winning, you like to see your guys acting like they're excited to win. So
any chance it could be a clubhouse issue? I know last year in the Yankees, it's not like he went over there and he was going to be the leader of the team, right? But Lindor got the big deal a few years ago. Soto gets the big deal now, stays in New York. I don't think people are saying he has to be the leader, but I'm just wondering if it could be any sort of clubhouse issue, some underlying things that maybe we on the outside looking in don't know.
It's hard for me. It's hard to know. I think Lindor is kind of the consensus leader of the team, even with Soto there. I don't know personality wise everyone and how they mesh, but I'm not putting too much stock into it. This is all coming out too as they're in the midst of a really bad offensive slump. Even though they took 2 out of 3 in Pittsburgh, they won 4 to their 2 wins. They won 4-3 and 2-1. They're struggling offensively. They haven't scored more than 4 runs in a game since May 11th, and they're struggling. Their last, in Pittsburgh, since they lost 4-0, and then they lost the Yankees 6-2. They won 3-2. They lost 8-2. Last night they lost 3-1. Tonight they're losing 2-0 in the 6th. They're just Lindor's in a midst of a 1-for-29 slump. So Soto's hitting behind that, and then Alonso is slumping. So they're all just kind of slumping together. But I think it's still
early,
important to have
So
recognition as to where we're at right now versus where we were last year at the same time. So I'm trying not to look too deep into it and get ahead of myself.
I mean, they're 10 games over 500 in May.
They're also in the midst of a tough stretch, which I knew this was going to be tough. They had the Yankees for 3, the Red Sox for 3, and then they play the Dodgers for 3. Whereas you guys are in the midst of the Pirates and Rockies.
I think this could be a Mets fan issue. I think maybe Soto's not having as much fun. You should be more optimistic right now. This could be they're 10 games over 500. They're in a hard stretch. They're still playing well, and players like Soto aren't that great. And I feel like I don't know. I feel like is the fan base positive enough right now? It doesn't seem like you're that excited that they're 10 games over 500 in May.
I said I'm not too worried.
Okay.
I'm happy that they are where they are, but
yeah.
I feel like there was this expectation that they should be around this point though too. I mean, when
Well,
you
like
spend that much money,
their last 3
that
years.
much money.
Yeah. What were like their last 3 years finishes though?
What do you mean their last 3 years?
I mean, is there like is the expectation strictly basically around this Soto signing, or is it?
I mean, they've been in the playoffs each of the last 3 years.
Okay. So this is almost
okay.
I mean, if I were you, I mean, we're not dealing with the injuries like the Braves are. We didn't deal with the rough start like the Braves are. There's some weird stories out there. You're not the Baltimore Orioles right now, who are in dead last in their division and have double the losses.
No, but the Mets have shot themselves in the foot a little bit with some of this, and the bullpen they've definitely had injuries, not maybe to the extent of the Braves, but 2 of their 5 starters have not even started the year, have still not started. 2 of the 5 that they signed in free agency.
Yeah, true.
One of their top setup men has been down now. They just, they'll be fine. I'm not that worried, but the Soto thing is just want to see a little more smiling. That's all. It really just comes down to that. But they need to fix it soon. They got the Red Sox 2 more, Dodgers for 3, and then they can chill out a little bit after that stretch. But
maybe no one in New York's really stressing right now, anyways, because all the focus is on the old Knickerbockers.
Yeah, well, they haven't played well on the road for some reason. I forget what their road home split is, but they've been just not good on the road this year. They're
2 games under 500, 12-14.
Yeah, and they're 17-5 at home. So I don't know what's going on, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. So
yeah, I feel like it's it'll be interesting to shake out. Like Ryan, you said that the injuries are down for both these teams, and fingers crossed, like at least to make it through the decent part of the year. But it's gonna be interesting to see how these teams, especially, I feel like the big marking point is gonna be the All-Star break. Like who can make it in there and who can make it out is definitely gonna be the key. I feel like for this division.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, it's been a fun year so far. I haven't followed baseball this much for a long time, especially starting when I have, and it's not just because the Phillies are doing well and just have gotten a little more back into baseball. Sixers, obviously, with their ending, so it's exciting and a lot of competitive baseball around the country, minus Denver, Colorado.
Yeah. All right, well, we can move on then. NBA, since you mentioned Sixers, NBA playoffs, they're not in it. But bottom 4.
You did not have to say that.
Bottom 4.
I had a perfect pivot with the Knicks, being focused on the Knicks in New York, and then you waited to bring up the Sixers as the pivot. Okay.
It's salty that you're so into the Phillies because, of course, they're in first.
That's not the only reason.
Yeah. Playoffs, NBA. Knicks, Pacers, Timberwolves, OKC.
Yeah, first off, it's ridiculous in today's age that the Pacers and the Timberwolves, this is back-to-back conference finals appearances for both these teams that haven't had great regular seasons, haven't had great rosters, haven't had a lot of crazy trade deadline moves. They're just kind of been stable. I mean, the Timberwolves, it's just their roster, Gobert and Randall at the 4-5. Again, today's NBA, I'm thinking no way that works, and it's working. The Pacers with one of the weirdest jump shots in the league today. Halliburton is carrying the squad with like Miles Turner still trucking out there. It's just complete, just weird. I mean, you take any of these teams and throw them in like 2015, and they're probably like 10th in the conference, not even making the playoffs. Timberwolves had to get through the play-in too, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just wild. But I want to give big credits to their organizations for not freaking out. I mean, it's easy to ride like the 6 to 8 seed hole and not pan out in the playoffs for years. Both these teams easily could have been in those situations, and both of them, it gets to big game moments in the playoffs, and they've come through. I'm with the layout left. The East has been pretty unexciting for me to watch just because of the majority of the teams I root against. But the Timberwolves are a cool story. I love that Mike Conley's still starting in the league. It's kind of wild. He had a few years where I kind of thought he was done. The NBA kind of does that to some older players sometimes, but he's been a real core rock side by side with Anthony Edwards in the backcourt. I think it's been a really good veteran, younger, pop duo, and it's working. It's been fun to watch. And we'll see. I mean, the Thunder, I think consensusly will say they're still the team to beat. They've had back-to-back ridiculous regular seasons. That Game 7 performance against a team that won the championship 2 years ago with the multiple MVP players still in his prime was absolutely ridiculous, especially after the start they had, down by double digits early. So overall, I'm definitely more excited about the matchup between the Thunder and the Timberwolves. Ben, I think your Knicks have a legit shot, but I'm not placing any bets because the Pacers have been Vegas's friend the last year and a half, and they don't have Boston. They don't have Boston this time. So I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. Predictions for me: Thunder, Knicks in the finals. Thunder winning in 6-5 maybe, but anything can happen. The other biggest story that I've literally been making a big deal about all playoff long has been in the injuries. And if you look at these 4 teams, 2 of them have no one on the injury report right now, and the other 2 have a couple players that have been not really a factor for their squad this year. So it's just really cool to see these full strength teams. Sometimes injuries happen in the playoffs. Well, they always happen, but then those teams sometimes still advance and it can affect them later on. So it's going to be really cool to see, at least going into these conference finals, both teams full strength. You can't really, exploit any weaknesses out there.
Yeah. With the only thing I'm kind of mad about is the Thunder and just the way they've gotten to this point and how it's been celebrated. But so I'll definitely be rooting for any kind of outcome where the Thunder don't win it. Although, if I'm gonna be completely honest, I feel like the Thunder have the best chance to win it just because it seems like they've been able to stay in every single game. They dispatched the Nuggets, and I feel like that was probably one of the tougher teams to go against, especially with just Jokic in the matchup and this just the versatility he has in the game. So I feel like moving forward, if they could beat him, it's like I don't really know what can actually stop them. And I'm not saying that the rest of the teams aren't that talented, but I don't know. At the same time, I feel like the Knicks, like I wonder about their stamina, like the further they keep getting. And it's not like they got beat up like they did last series or last season, but it's just hard to ride these guys, and they're definitely they're definitely the best athletes every year, and they get better and better. So there's definitely that. But I wonder if you get in a tough series with the Pacers too, like, is it gonna drain them enough and then have to play like, you know, not at the same level that they could be, and that's just because of the rotations and stuff like that. But I definitely haven't seen as much of this playoffs as compared to when the Sixers do make it, so that's definitely been the downside of it. But this is definitely gonna be an exciting matchup. So I can definitely feel like these games they probably are gonna go like 6, possibly even 7 in most scenarios. So I feel like you're gonna get a lot of action, definitely a lot of moments, and definitely a lot of drama between all these teams that are left.
Yeah, I have been watching more, at least some of the Knicks playoff games. Now I will watch the Knicks if the Knicks and Mets are at the same time. I'll probably watch the Knicks
Finally.
at this point.
It's ridiculous. This is why the Pacers are about to go to the freaking NBA Finals because of your fan base.
I will say this series feels a little different because with Bridges and Towns, it feels like the Knicks are a little better prepared, and Bridges is just such a great defender.
So
I
great.
that series is just gonna. I feel like it's just gonna be an absolute dogfight. Like kind of like you said, it feels like the way the Sixers and the Knicks played each other last year. Like they're gonna just be stumbling out of this series, and I'm just waiting for one of these like Brunson drives that just coming down on his ankle, and everyone's gonna freak out about it. But I mean, if you told me again that the Knicks would beat the Celtics, I know Tatum obviously hurts, but they still were doing well
They
without.
were, no, the Knicks had this series, no excuses for the Celtics.
If you told me they were going to the Eastern Conference Finals, I would have been happy. But at this point, it feels like they have a winnable matchup, and I'd love to see them get to the finals. And yeah, to what your guys' point, the Thunder feel like they're definitely the favorites, and they have so many feels like positionless basketball players that can kind of guard so many different positions that it's crazy. So
Yeah, they're
yeah,
definitely the style that they play, I feel like it's just draining. I feel like against teams that have to match up against so much versatility, and all those guys are super athletic and they have size too. So it's like
yeah,
really hard to pick your poison when you got to go against them.
yeah. No, agreed.
That's wild. I think, Chase, you made a great point about the Knicks running out of steam. We always talk about it. But regular season is different than deep playoff runs. I think LeBron, when he went on that like 7 straight finals appearances, the biggest thing he just kept talking about was how tired he was and how his body like just couldn't do it anymore. There's instances like that with the Joel Embiid situation this year. Ultimately he gets more rest. The Derrick Henry injury a couple years ago in Tennessee, when the Titans were still playing well, you're like, okay, well, he gets these games off. The Knicks are at a couple years in a row now where these guys have been playing a lot, but not just through the end of April. We're going to get into June now. I think the biggest factor will be that for them. Might be offset with them getting home court advantage, which is so nice. I don't think you could ask for anything else than game 1 in MSG. And if you get to game 5 or a game 7, one of the best I think seen.
And it's cool to see. Like I know there's a lot of celebrities they always show, but like Ben Stiller and Spike Lee, like to get like they're there during the regular season games too. Like they're not just showing up for the playoffs and the big games. Like they come to a lot of just the regular, weeknight games that are theirs, which is so for fans like that who, get to see the next day in and day out. That's
cool. No, for sure. We'll be watching a lot of these games. And
all right, well, on to some other crazy playoffs that I'll be honest, haven't watched much of at all. But Chase has probably a little bit more than Ryan and I. NHL playoffs. We have conference finals now, right?
Yeah. Yep, they're actually kind of lining up well with the NBA playoffs, which also stinks for just knowing that the season's slowly running out of time. But yeah, we're in the conference finals. If you had a long-term bet on the Oilers, you're looking pretty solid so far. They've made it to the conference finals.
That's fair. That's fair.
And overcame adversity. Let's take a trip back to round one when they played the Kings. They were down in the series, big time. The Kings come out, make a horrendous call to challenge a play. That literally sparks the Oilers to just go on a run, come back in that series, then go on a streak of having 5 straight games where they came back to win. And
Ridiculous.
it's led them to this point, which has been super impressive. The Stars, pick somebody on their roster, they've had a big moment, and none of them bigger than Mikko Rantanen. I mean, the guy had 2 hat tricks in 2 different series so far. He's just
Wow.
been on fire, and, yeah, they get back players now. Their goalie, Ottinger, has been really well for them. Outdueled Connor Hellebuck, who's gonna win, the Vezina, who also pretty much through the regular season is dominant and then gets to the postseason and sucks a fat one. I mean, he is not good in the playoffs, which is pretty crazy considering you look at his regular season stats. He's impossible to beat, and then he just can't hold up. He got pulled in pretty much every road start against their series and against the Blues in the first round, and then he goes up against the Stars and just couldn't hold up. On the Eastern Conference side, biggest disappointment, again, year in and year out, is the Maple Leafs. They have the core four. They have uber amounts of talent. They find rookies. They get people. They spent big at the deadline. They got Scott Lawton from the Flyers, and in return sent back a young prospect who's most likely going to make the Flyers and definitely be, if and hopefully be a contributor for them. Also gave a first round pick back. Definitely does not look like that was a good trade at this point in the year. And it definitely didn't seem like it at the time either. But they get walloped by the Panthers 6-1 in game 7. Basically, they go out there and have their hearts broken. Now it's possibly going to get broken up too because Mitch Marner's a free agent. So really, it's going to be interesting to see how the Maple Leafs recover from that. It was definitely surprising considering they were up in the series pretty handily against the Panthers and then just could not close it out for whatever reason. So disappointment if you're a Canada, a Maple Leafs fan, especially a fan of hockey in Canada, because there's only one team left to finally break that streak of bringing Stanley Cup back to Canada, and all your hopes are pretty much with the Oilers at this point. So it's that's pretty crazy that that stat could possibly be over in this round, and you could have 2 American teams fighting it out for the cup and extending that streak. It's pretty crazy considering the fact of how talented all these teams are, and they can't do it. But in the Eastern Conference Finals, we got the Panthers and the Hurricanes. This is definitely going to be a really good matchup. The Panthers, obviously, last year Stanley Cup champions, back at it again, making a deep run. Seem pretty hard to beat at this point. I mean, coming back against the Maple Leafs and dealing with them was pretty impressive, but they didn't really lose anybody. They've been able to add talent. They get Brad Marchand from the Bruins at the deadline. Absolute steal of a deal to get their captain into your team, and he's the one that pretty much puts the nail in the coffin in Toronto, just like he did in Boston. So
Yeah.
they get richer, and it's only going to help them in the playoff run. But we'll see how it shakes out. Stars, Oilers, Panthers, Hurricanes. Winners make it to the Stanley Cup, and it's definitely gonna be good either way. I mean, these playoffs have been absolutely insane. A lot of overtime games, a lot of just deep games where people had to grind it out, and some of those teams advanced and some of those teams didn't make it. But it's been impressive to watch. I definitely have to say this has probably been the most Stanley Cup playoffs I've seen in since the Flyers have made it, I guess.
Yeah. A
So it's been
decade.
exciting. Yeah, it's definitely been exciting to get back in, and I can only imagine how much better it'd be if the Flyers were in it. And we'll see where it goes. They just announced their head coach, Rick Tocchet, coming over from Vancouver, obviously with the top 10 pick again, and they're loaded with them. So all these big teams losing gives me hope that possibly the Flyers can come in and steal one of these guys away. If they're able to acquire a Willie Nylander from Toronto, or maybe even Austin Matthews, although he came up very short in the playoffs, which is definitely a red flag for me. But these big teams that are losing, you can only hope that they're willing to listen on their players, and maybe the Flyers can come away with one. So that's the plus side to all these big teams losing as a Flyers fan, is that they have
Yeah.
the assets to go out, they have the cap space to do it. And those are the 2 biggest challenges, I feel like, to work out a mega deal in the NHL.
When,
Yeah, for
when
sure.
was the last time that there was like a repeat matchup in the NHL? Do you know? Because it seems like that could be a solid chance it could happen, like repeat.
Yeah, Panthers. Oh, yeah. I don't. To be honest, I don't know. It might have been one of the Lightning matchups. I feel like
Okay.
that maybe, but we'd definitely have to get Stack Eye on that to peruse the Stanley Cup matchup list. But I want to say it's probably not that common, but I want to say it happened recently though too. It's probably one of those things.
There's been a couple teams recently that have won a couple in a row, so you can
Yeah,
get a matchup.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of teams too that just like you're saying, it feels like once they're in there for like the Lightning were making I mean they made the playoffs this year, although they had to match up against the Panthers. So
Okay, so it
yeah.
says the last time was 2007, 2008, 2008, 2009 finals was the Red Wings and Penguins.
Back
Long
to
time
back.
ago.
Oh wow.
The
Okay.
Lightning were the
Long.
last team to
It's almost
get
20 years.
Yeah, the Lightning were the last team to get back to back-to-back finals.
Okay. But they
But,
face different opponents.
There's different teams.
And this
All right,
one would
so-
be ridiculous too, because Chase, to your point, the excitement, all 4 number 1 teams are out.
Yeah.
Like this is like the adversity in the NHL right now. I mean, we talk about it in all sports, but obviously some big disappointments. The Ovechkin's always like big right now, especially because he's at the end of his career. The Maple Leafs letting Canada down for the 800th time in the last, 10, 15, 20 years. But that's wild. It does make it exciting. It's just like, yeah, if the Flyers can just get in the dance. I mean, the Islanders had a disappointing season. They didn't even make it this year, but
they aren't a good team though.
No, but they've been better the last few years, and
yeah, or even a team like the Rangers, and the Bruins. Both those teams are pretty much perennial playoff stalwarts. Both had bad years for different reasons, and Boston ended up trading away a lot of their team. So who knows what they're gonna do? They extended their GM, who doesn't seem like he knows what he's doing. So that seems like good for us as a Flyers fan that there's a guy who just traded away their captain and a bunch of other pieces, and I don't know how they're going to replace it unless they think David Pasternak's just going to play 60 minutes every game.
Yeah. I mean, Chase more so because of you, but I think we've all become really big Connor McDavid fans. So I think we're all kind of pulling for the Oilers, but I'm also just going to go back to a Dallas, a Florida, and a Carolina hockey team.
Yeah.
No one plays ice hockey down there. Get out of here. I feel like I would love to see not only the Oilers for McDavid, but also Canada bring one home. I mean, there's just so much more passion. The fan bases are better up there, and just it's cold. Like no one's playing ice hockey outside in Dallas ever. So
no.
It always.
And if you're in Edmonton,
it took a while for some of those southern states to get teams over the course of the beginning of the NHL, but it still just bothers me a little bit.
Yeah. No, definitely. And it's because it's their sport, and it's and if you're in Edmonton, you got nothing else. You only have this hockey team. Like in Dallas, you got the Cowboys, you got the Rangers, I guess you could say are Dallas area. So Stars potentially could be third. I think that they should probably be number one just because they have an insane lineup of people, but it's going to be a hard sell, especially in a place like Texas and Dallas area. Like it's.
And Edmonton, they get the Winter Olympics every 4 years to look forward to.
Yeah, the Winter Olympics. Yeah, so it's only the Oilers. So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting, and I'm just happy they've advanced just because you get to see more McDavid, see the action, and also the other guys on the team too. It's not like it's not like he's just pulling a sled. They don't have a lot of slouches on that team. They've all made great plays along in the playoffs. So, but yeah, it would be interesting. There's definitely a chance that it could be Oilers Panthers. The Oilers and Star series is going to be, if you haven't watched, this would definitely be the series to check out, to carve out a couple minutes, check it out, see what's going on, because they're both just dynamos on the offensive side. They can really, the games can get out of hand quick, depending on what's going on. But you have the Stars do, I would say, in my opinion, have the goaltender advantage in this. So it's gonna be, you're gonna get everything of McDavid, Draisaitl, Evan Bouchard, Zach Hyman out of the series. Is everything that they can do offensively, they're gonna have to do it.
Yeah, real quick, Chase, right before we move on, pick to win the Stanley Cup right now.
Pick to win the Stanley Cup right now.
Yeah. Who you got?
Gut feeling, I'm going with the back-to-back champs, Panthers.
Okay. That would really suck for
Yeah,
the
it would not be
Oilers
fun.
and McDavid if they got back. And that's like kind of it's one of those like but yeah. So okay. I like
Yeah.
it.
And I mean, I just got to go with the road here too. The Panthers went against the Lightning. Lightning weren't a bad team all year. They actually were the number 2 seed going into the playoffs. Not a bad team at all. A lot of playoff experience. Some of those guys have over 150 games career playoffs.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild, deep. And then you go against the Maple Leafs, who were the number 1 seed going into the playoffs. You got to beat that core four. Oh,
Clutch game 7 performance like the Thunder, 6-1. I mean, ridiculous.
yeah,
Game 7
they beat
performance.
up on them. They've come back in series. They've shown resilience. They went to the cup last year. And I feel like that's the biggest difference is you got to give it to them. They've had a lot of opportunities to fall behind and lose the series in both times, and they figure out what they wanted to do, and maybe it took by game 3 to do it, but they did it, and that's impressed me so far. So yeah, I got to go with them.
I like it.
Nice. All right. Well, I can talk for like 1 minute about the WNBA opening weekend, and we'll move on. We don't have to talk too much because
she got a timer up on the board here for you. Start the 60-second clock.
But I mean, a lot of teams have only played one game so far, so I'm not gonna make too much of an overreaction or anything. Indiana Fever came out, did their thing. They're actually losing to the Dream tonight, looking like they're gonna lose their second game. But it'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of mouths to feed there right now, so we'll see how that goes. I'm interested to see the Mystics. It looked a lot better than people thought. So Mystics for me would be a wild card team. Mercury, I think, are going to be better than people think too. And yeah, we'll see how this season plays out. I think the Wings and the Sun are going to kind of be still on the bottom, and the Valkyrie.
Yeah, speaking of that, we all know your team's the Connecticut Sun. Should we talk about Chase's team real quick? Chase's random team for the year.
Yeah,
you got 20 seconds.
Yeah, so I wanted to get in on the WNBA action. It was something I've been wanting to do. I put them all in a wheel. Every single WNBA franchise put it on there, spun it, shuffled it 3 times, and it came out with the Phoenix Mercury. So I'm happy to join their fan base. I've read up a little bit upon them. Since joining the team, obviously they acquired Alyssa Thomas. I would probably have to say is a group favorite among this podcast.
Yeah.
Alyssa Thomas, Harrisburg native. I would say she probably makes the top 3 for all of us. They lose Diana Taurasi, obviously the GOAT WNBA stat wise. I mean, pretty hard. It's going to take a lot of effort for anybody to beat her, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm excited. Have some Phoenix Mercury players on our WNBA fantasy team, so makes it a little bit easier to follow in that regard. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm definitely looking forward to watching more WNBA for this summer, which will be nice. An extra sport to add, and usually a year when there's not a lot of, the sports drops off.
Yeah, and the Mercury also had Fatu Sabali, who last 2 years in Dallas has averaged 18 points a game, and now she gets to be almost like the number 1 scoring option, so she might be able to flourish. 27 points in that first game, and with no Kalia Copper out for the next 4 to 6 weeks, it's basically just going to be Sabali and Thomas doing the work for them. So
yeah, I love that one too.
Yeah. All right. Well, last here, quick NASCAR update, Chase. We haven't talked NASCAR in feels like months, but yeah, give us a quick update. What's going on?
Yeah, so like you said, Ben, I don't even remember the last race we touched upon. I think it was before Vegas. So if that was the case, it's been a hot minute since we got down there. Last past weekend was the All-Star race. Christopher Bell my pick last year. He's continued his dominant ways this season. Had a bit of unfortunate luck, but anyways, got the $1 million payout in an absolute dominant fashion. Beat Joey Logano to get the $1 million prize. I would have to say, for checking in on my pick for the year to win, I went with Chase Elliott. He's fourth right now in the points, so not bad. Doesn't have a win yet, so it's kind of making me a little bit nervous, if I got to say. But he's got 3 top 5s, 6 top 10s. It's not bad overall, and we're 12 starts into the season. Points leader right now is Kyle Larson. Second, William Byron. Third, Christopher Bell. And Chase Elliott fourth. And Ryan Blaney fifth. So
not a bad
pretty
top
much
five.
yeah, not a bad top 5. Probably could have wrote that out if you had to guess at the beginning of the year who you think the top 5 would be. It's not like there's anyone who's really standing out amongst them. Um, overall, considering, and most of those guys in the top 3 have 7 wins between them. So it's pretty
Well,
heavily loaded between Larson, Byron, and Bell. I mean, they've just
So much
been
different than last
dominant.
season.
Yeah, last season by this point, it felt like there was a lot more winners. This year, for whatever reason, there's been a few guys to stand out. Josh Berry got a win at Vegas. John Hunter Nemechek um, came close to getting earlier this season, but yeah, there really hasn't been like a lot of. Austin Cindric got a win. Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin has 2. Really not a lot of guys considering
Yeah.
where we're at in the season. So we'll see. Their all-star race is super early. I kind of hate it, but this will be the long stretch of the second half of the year, and we'll see how it goes. But pretty happy with the Chase Elliott pick. I feel like coming forward, he's definitely going to be in position to win one of these races. He at least gets one every year, it seems like. So if he could get a few more, that'd be great. But at least he's in there, giving himself a chance.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, kind of kept it right on schedule tonight. I think we'll end it there. We appreciate anyone who's tuned in, listening now, listening later, however you're getting it. So we'll be back, trying to be as regular as we can. We still got some more things coming up in the next few weeks that may take priority, but we'll be as on schedule as we can. So,
Yeah.
Love
I like it.
all right. Signing out. We'll see you.